Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we are just going to be chatting, talking about all things Married to Medicine and what is actually happening with this show.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this show. Make sure y'all subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. We did a review on this past episode on Sunday, and it kind of left a dark cloud over the show, right? With the whole Dr. Greg, Sweet Tea thing. Quad has came online and said that scene was triggering. Dr. Heavily came online and said that, she felt bad for Sweet Tea, and then Dr. Heavily went through whatever she went through this week. It just seemed like it was just bad promo for the overall show. We had people that came on their own podcast, two people who are shady themselves, maybe even reasonably shady, talked about how dirty and messy and how icky the show feels, even though, Giselle, I could go down a list of things that you've done.
That was very icky.
That's very icky. You get what I'm saying? But this is not that, and I'm not going to talk about that here. But I do want to talk about, for one, I just want to expound on the Dr. Greg and Sweet Tea scene, right? Dr. Greg and Sweet Tea came out with an interview basically doing some type of damage control on Sweet Tea's channel. Basically, Sweet Tea is basically saying that she is standing by her husband, and Dr. Greg said he did not feel supported by the guys, by his male friends when King was coming after him. And all those things could be true, but who cares, right? In that scene, Dr. G, you was very disrespectful to Sweet Tea. Flat out, right? For someone who has, based off that reunion when it came down to where you and Carl was talking and y'all was basically being abusive towards each other and things of that nature, you have to be wise and know how you come off or know what your reputation is on this show. Sweet Tea did not do nothing in that scene to be belittled in the house that she lives in. This is her house now, right? I don't care if this is the house that you had before her or this is the success that you had before her. When you decide to make her your wife, this is her house, right? So you belittled her in her house, right? You disrespected her. And even though Sweet Tea tried to calm you down as a ally, she did not follow you upstairs to charge at you as King did to basically be violent, to be someone who is trying to be an enemy towards you. She came up there to be an ally, a wife, and say, "Hey, stop talking. Yeah, shut up, please." You get what I'm saying? Because you are not being seen in the best light. And truth be told, listen, what's in you is in you. I do. You get what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, there is no excuse, not one, of how Dr. G was talking to Sweet Tea. Sweet Tea was just trying to break the ice and saying, look, you're not going to die in a fight. I'm trained to like a certain instinct, and I'm not going to let you die, right? He used that moment, that little small crack in the door to kick it open and basically be like, you could be so naive. I'm like, where'd that come from? Right. like you could be so naive and it's cute. And I'm just like, where are we going with this? And then you over here talk about it's your fault. And I'm just like, I wish Dr. G would realize that, hey, you are being seen as a crazy guy on national TV. You get what I'm saying? What is your thoughts on that scene, Blair?
I just kind of want to talk overall a little bit because yes, Dr. G definitely flipped his lid and was disrespectful to his wife, and she was doing nothing but trying to support and protect him in a lot of different ways. But I do think that this show, I just don't see the benefit of them being here. When it comes to their relationship, when it comes to the stress of having to deal with his ex-wife and her new boyfriend. And I think that, of course, people love to be on TV. I'm sure there's a nice little check that comes with being on Bravo. But for the quality of your life and what you have to put up with when it comes to being in this pressure cooker of a situation, I don't see how it benefits them. In this arrangement. I think that it was fun last season when she was getting married and she was having her bachelorette party and Quad was single, and basically we get to ish on Quad a little bit and everybody wants Quad out the group. So it was all fun and dandy when she thought she was actually becoming friends with these ladies. But the thing was, these ladies were never your friends. They were never your real friends, and they were never going to accept you in place of Quad. Everyone thought it was weird. You moved into Quad's old house. The house looked exactly the same. They definitely made note of that when they came over to their shower or whatever it was, the hoedown. So she was always the butt of the joke, you know? And I think that she went in a little bit, I don't know if it's fair for me to say naive, but I think she went in a little bit naive into the group of ladies to think that she would actually be accepted and welcomed. I felt like they were nice enough to her that season. And I think the way that she responded to some things definitely put her more on the outs than she probably was. But Heavenly she was snaky. You know what I'm saying? She brought the girl on for ratings and for the show, but ultimately to play her, you know? And I don't know if Sweet Tea realized that in the moment. I think she knows now because of how everything has broken down between her and Heavenly. But even thinking back to the scene where she was sitting down and telling Heavenly, you know, Quad was right about some things. Yeah. Heavenly's not your girlfriend.
No.
She's not your girlfriend. And everything that you say and do is going to be used against you. So now that we're at this point to where things have reached the boiling point and to where possible fights are actually happening and people are stressing out and yelling at each other and marital homes are, you know, just not in a state of peace. I don't see how this benefits them. And I also don't see, I think it's interesting from a viewer's point to kind of see how things happen. I will say it's entertainment, but at a certain point, like, people can actually get hurt. And it's like, at what point do they draw the line for themselves? I think the show is going to record whatever's out there. And I think as viewers, I'm going to watch until I can't watch anymore. But how is this good for y'all is kind of my question. So,
yeah. And here is my issue with it. Sweet Tea was never going to be accepted by the group.
Yeah.
Her job on the show was to be a pawn, period. So the game was already rigged against her. Sweet Tea could have, like, if we take away her cussing out at Jackie, we could take away her beefing with Dr. Heavily. She was never going to be accepted on the show and in this group because she was only there to be a hired gun. Right?
Yeah.
That's why you feel like that Sweet Tea and Dr. G should leave because of how much of a pressure cooker it is for their relationship. I think Quad should leave. Right? Not because I have anything against Quad. A lot of people don't like Quad. I think Quad is a star. But I think all of this, Quad need to look around and realize that all of this was to basically make Quad feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All this hiring Sweet Tea, basically bringing back her ex-husband, putting her in this situation, having their wedding on the show and things of that nature, right? Having her storyline, having all of this was all to get Quad off the show. Don't forget, last season, they had her fly all the way out to Napa, right? Just to tell her, go back to Atlanta, right? And then when you ask them, what is your issue with Quad? They don't really have a solid issue against Quad. They just don't like Quad.
But see, I think also part of it too is the fact that they wanted Quad to have this conflict on screen with Sweet Tea, and it didn't happen. And I think that there was a little bit of frustration as well from the cast of ladies by the simple fact of, we kind of gave you a bone to get on here and do some work and actually get down to it, but Quad came with gifts and hugs and kisses. You know, so I think it was a bundle of things. Like, yes, they were trying to make her uncomfortable, but I think also, like, producer Heavenly was also looking for a way for Quad to find herself a storyline.
Yes.
You know?
But here's the thing about it. Quad don't need a storyline.
Yeah.
And that just shows how much of a star she is. She don't need a storyline.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Quad needs to look around and realize that these women don't like her. Well, we know why. We know for a fact Toya don't like her, right? And Quad, you were a participant in that,
right?
You get what I'm saying? But aside from Toya, the girls voted for you to be off the show. Dr. Heavily saved you just because, in my opinion, for this scene alone. No, we're not going to get Quad off the show because then that would kind of mess up the fact that I hired Sweet Tea. Because I did all this work to get this scene. And now we want to have our face down to the ground when we actually get what we want. Like, so that's why I'm like, Quad needs to look around and actually leave the show because she needs to realize that there's no one on this show that's for her. Literally, Simone's not for her. Simone did what she did on the reunion last year. She did apologize, but that just lets you know that, like, hey, Nobody's really for you. Toya's not for you. Like I said, you were an equal participant in that. Dr. Jackie's not for you. She told you out of her mouth, even though as closed off as Dr. Jackie is, she said, you don't really open up to us.
But I'll say that, to be honest, none of these women are really for each other. I think that in the beginning seasons, there was actually a good bond of them trying to help each other when it came to their marriages. I really do believe that they helped save Simone and Cecil's marriage. Yeah. I really think that they came together and were a positive impact on that. But I think that as seasons go on, as drama unfolds, and as people actually feel like they're not being supported and being attacked, everybody is out for self. Well, you know?
Yes and no. The reason why I agree with you is because I do believe that this show in many ways did save Simone's marriage, right? Yeah. But who is basically the leaders of the group? It's Dr. Heavily, Dr. Jackie, Dr. Simone. Dr. Simone is basically the spokesman for the group, right? Yeah. So when it comes, that's why Dr. Simone had a problem with her getting close with Dr. Jackie, talk about Dr. Heavily, because she was like, how are you going to be close with Dr. Heavily?
And there is a hierarchy. They don't respect the women who aren't doctors, and Phaedra wasn't about to fall into that hierarchy.
Well, Phaedra, I don't really even know why they hired Phaedra, to be honest. Like, they really had no reason to hire her. But truth be told, when it comes down to the show, there's ranking. Okay, it's Dr. Jackie, Dr. Simone, right? They were supposed to be basically the faces of the show, the doctors of the show, the real doctors of the show, right? Quote unquote. Toya was basically their whipping post.
Yeah, like, for a long time.
It still is, technically. We just have Sweet Tea and basically there to basically take the role of Toya. Right. But basically it was supposed to be Dr. Simone. It was supposed to be Dr. Jackie. They are supposed to be the faces. They are the doctors. Dr. Heavily came and got close with Dr. Jackie. I would say she did that purposely.
I think it was strategic. Yeah, absolutely. I because Dr. Jackie was going in on her because Heavenly 100%. Was trying to do what she does to everybody and bully everybody. And Jackie was like, you're not about to bully me.
So now what does that do? It's easy if we split the power 50-50, but now you add a third person into it. Now we got to split it 33% across the board. Then on top of that, I'm seeing that you're getting closer with Heavily, so I'm kind of on the outs. Yeah. As Dr. Simone. So truth be told, if Dr. Jackie, which I do not feel like she cares for Quad, or Simone or Heavily feels like, well, let me take out Heavily for a second. If Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone felt like doing that sister circle thing where Quad gave one of the best speeches of all time in my eyes, right? Felt like, well, you ain't gonna embarrass us like that. We are the doctors, right? This is our show, basically. They come to see us. They don't come to see you. You're not even a doctor.
Ain't nobody here to see you, Otis.
Nobody came here to see you, Otis, right? If they felt that way, Dr. Heavily came in and she's basically there to do the heavy lifting, right? Now, what happens is Dr. Heavily, in many ways, and it's so funny. In many ways, and also in ways that's not enough, became basically the face of Married to Medicine, right? She became the face of Married to Medicine based off of her YouTube. When the show is off the air, she makes it a duty to make sure that, hey, I'm going to stay in front of a camera. Y'all going to always associate Married to Medicine with me. I am basically holding the flag for the show.
And not only that, I think that she is the main person to help getting the show renewed. Exactly. I mean, I think every year is it coming back? Is it not coming back? When are they starting filming? Do they have filming dates? Like, they always throw Married to Medicine up in the air, which I feel like is one of their best shows. So it sucks that it's in that position. But I think that Heavenly really puts it upon her back to say, hey, we gonna keep this thing going.
So so now, after what happened last season, because truth be told, Quad got fired on the show by the girls.
By the cast. But they don't got hiring and firing capabilities.
But they did, though. Oh. That's the thing that you're missing, right? They said they came together, Toya, Simone, Dr. Simone, Dr. Jackie, Dr. Heavily didn't really say much. They basically said, you can take your stuff and go home. Yeah. Because we are the faces of Married to Medicine.
And we're not filming with you.
But what happened was they did not expect the audience to get behind Quad and basically be like, this is wrong. This is wrong. So she had to come back. You get what I'm saying? So guess what they tried to do off season? They tried to fire her again. Right? So Dr. Heavily had to step in and say, no, we're not going to do that because guess what? We got Sweet Tea here. Yeah. We got Dr. G here. We're going to get this payoff, right? So that's why I feel like Quad should leave the show because truth be told, who's for you on the show, Quad? I think this scene right here, even though even though it may look like it's King versus Dr. Greg, you really need to look around. And even though Dr. Heavily gave her apologies, but what do her apologies really mean when she said out her mouth that her apologies don't mean nothing, that she gonna do the same thing, whatever she want to do? Mm-hmm. You need to look around, Quad, and say, even though I am the face of the show, even though I am very entertaining, even though I do have a fan base, even though I'm not married to medicine, right? All those things can be true. Whew, y'all girls really don't like me.
Yeah. And the thing is with Quad, the only reason I would want to give her space to fight for her spot is because she's been here for a very long time. And I don't think it's fair for the doctors to feel like they have the power to push her out. They already did it to Mariah. You know what I'm saying?
My thing is,
and Quad was a part of that, you know, but I think that Quad, I agree that it may not be in Quad's best interest to stay around people who will play in her face and play with her life the way that they are by introducing her ex-husband and his new wife and all that type of stuff. And really, you know, just kind of ransack her emotions with no care in the world. Like, that's grimy. And for her to still call Heavenly a friend, I don't understand it. But but beyond that, I think that Quad helped build this house, and if she wants to keep her stake and keep her room in this house, I'm not mad at her.
She helped build what house?
Of Married to Medicine.
Mariah created the show.
But I'm saying Quad was a major player in the show, and if she wants to fight for her spot, I don't see anything wrong with
Getting
that.
rid of Quad is nothing. Mm-hmm. If they can get rid of the creators of the show, right? Quad, I understand that you may have built a nice room in this house, right? But they don't say her name first. And she stays on the end when they do the intros.
Well, the thing is, with Bravo, everybody's expendable. That's very true.
So, like, with me, I will say, because that's what I feel like. I feel like King was 100% a plan of defense against what basically they was trying to do to her last season.
Right.
You're not going to bring me back on the show to where I have to show up to my ex-husband's wedding. You get what I'm saying? And be cool with my ex-husband's new spouse and things like that.
Be in the same friend
circle and things of that nature, even though she is not medicine and things of that nature. Dr. Gray did not have to be back. So I think there's a lot of like, okay, since y'all want to play this way, I'm going to bring a man on here who's going to be handsome. He's going to give me a Rolls Royce on camera and things like that. Is it mine? It doesn't matter. You get what I'm saying? And he going to be muscular. He going to be all those things. Because y'all want a scene, I'm going to make sure I give y'all a scene. But we need to go to the root of it. And I say, Quiet, you need to look around and realize that none of these girls are for you. And you need to protect your mental health. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I understand that you have a right to fight for your paycheck, but it's not going to stop. They're just going to find more passive-aggressive ways to get you up out of there. Because I feel like these are the type of cast, or rather the type of mean girls, because they are mean girls. And Phaedra, listen, pot calling the kettle black. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Phaedra, you're a mean girl. You brought Quiet to a freaking bachelorette party based on the show.
Take one and know one.
And then on top of that, we don't even have to go through your whole history of Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah.
So like Phaedra, it is what it is, right? But I think like you need to look around and basically be like, these mean girls will not stop to get me out.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be more secretive. It's gonna be more passive. We ain't gonna shoot with you. You gonna feel like an outcast on the show. And I think the reason why I'm not really pushing for Sweet Tea and Dr. Gray to be gone, because they fate was already sealed the minute that they joined the show. They wasn't going to be on the show for more than 3 seasons, in my opinion, right? And especially since how Dr. Gray showed his behind, I think it's best for them if they really want to be married and if they really want to have a great, healthy marriage, they need to do it behind closed doors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And away from the ex-wife. Yeah. I mean, nobody needs to subject themselves to that.
And Dr. Greg needs to learn to respect his wife.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, bruh, you don't need to talk to her that way. You get what I'm saying? But I do think people said there's a dark cloud over Married to Medicine. Some people even suggested that Dr. Heavily need to sit out a season.
I don't think so. Heavenly's the show. She's a huge part of the show. I mean, what do you want to see? I guess I would say, because the show has always had drama. I mean, they was fighting, throwing fists and purses in the first episode. So, I mean, it's always been a little bit on the darker side when it comes to how aggressive and violent people can get on the show. So I'm not going to say that this is a new thing, but it is a unfortunate thing. And it is kind of like a, really strategic way of putting people in the worst space possible. It's one thing to go about life and go about your friend group and have arguments and disagreements, but to have this much of a pressure cooker where you've got Apollo here with Shek and Phaedra and all these arguments going on at the same time, like it is a bit much. It's a bit much for anybody.
I'm not saying that Dr. Heavenly needs to be off the show, but take away some of her power. Bringing Sweet Tea, like if she was the one who brought Sweet Tea on, guess what? We gonna stop you from bringing people on. Like maybe for a season. Get back to shooting with the core. Get back to shooting with Toya, Dr. Simone, Dr. Jackie. Yes, Dr. Jackie, you gotta do some scenes.
And let's dig deeper in these relationships. I mean, it's a lot with the group dynamic, but
Dr. Jackie not showing her relationship no more.
That's what I'm trying to see, because where did Curtis be?
Curtis be working in the DR, he said. I'm just, listen.
Yeah, that's where he said he be. So I'm just saying, Dr. Jackie, she don't even let us in her house no more, barely.
Dr. Jackie feels like I gave y'all more than enough when y'all was all up in my marriage, all up in my infidelity and all that stuff. And I would say, okay, cool. Truth be told, Dr. Heavily, instead of showing all of the mess of everybody else, show your marriage.
Exactly.
I know you say your marriage is off limits. Why your marriage get to be off limits?
Exactly.
But Sweet Tea marriage don't get to be off limits. Quad don't get to be off limits. That's why I say I'm not really for Dr. Jackie, because truth be told, Dr. Jackie kind of already showed me that there's really nothing to her outside of her work. Like it's just like she likes to work, and I don't want to see her. Like, to me, she's boring to me. So I really don't mind not seeing her. But Dr. Heavily, you don't get to say your marriage is off limits while you put everybody else's relationships on like the altar to be sacrificed.
And I will say with Dr. Simone, I'm tired of hearing about her grown bum children. You know what I'm saying?
What?
I'm tired of hearing about it. How they don't clean, they don't cook, they got to go in there and take speakers and stuff like that to get payment because they're going to carry on behind them. Like, okay, like, I don't know. They grown. This is how they are. Okay, we get it.
You took it so left right there.
So
I wasn't expecting that.
I'm just saying, like, that's her storyline, is trying to get her sons to have some accountability about them and how they go about life. And I think that's cool. It was fun when the boy was going to Howard and, you know, all this type of stuff. But hey, they 25 plus now. I don't know what to say.
Look, my thing is,
I'm like, let's hear more about Cecil and Simone and
there's
this
nothing
marriage
to them. So my thing is, this is their life. I have no problem with the bum boys for me.
Okay,
for me, right? I have no problem with the bum boys because I'm like, this is what they're going through. And we can't say we're tired of the dark cloud over Married at First Sight. I mean, not Married at First Sight. Well,
I guess my point is,
hold on.
Okay,
we can't say that we're tired of Married to Medicine, the dark cloud over Married to Medicine. But when they're actually showing what they're going through, right? Then we're like, oh no, I'm tired of hearing about it. This is what they're going through. My thing is, Dr. Heavily doesn't show her marriage at all.
And that's my point. I want to see more of the marriage dynamics. That's what drew me into the show in the first place. Okay. So I would like to see more of that if I'm giving recommendations.
Okay. You said get the bum boys off my screen. Hey, listen, part of being married is being guess what? Being parents. Because guess what? Toya and Eugene, only thing we see is their kids. The only thing about them is that they're young and that they are astute.
Yeah.
So we're not really seeing their marriage dynamic. We're seeing them being parents.
You're right, and I don't mind that. But wow. I've seen enough of Simone's kids. Okay. All right, they're not stellar. So
okay. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Okay, let's get out of here. Subscribe, like, share, comment, all the above. Bye.
Bye.